Welcome to the 2026 New Jersey International Filmmaker Interview Series. We've got a number of wonderful films from all around the world that will be screening between May 29th and June 7th. Our festival is still a hybrid, which means we're going to be showing films online and in person. And the film screenings will take place exclusively on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I'll give you information at the end of the program on how you can buy tickets and get access to our website. But if you want to know that quick and dirty right now, it's njfilmfest.com and you can get all the information there. Today we have Taylor Olson, who's actually an alumnus of our film festival. His film Bone Cage won the 2021 New Jersey International Film Festival Prize for Best Feature, and he's back with another wonderful feature called What We Dreamed of Then. And Taylor, you're in Canada, right? Where in Canada are you?
That's right. I'm in Nova Scotia in Canada, in
All
Halifax.
right, that's very
Yeah.
cool. I welcome you here, and I must tell you, I used to live in Halifax
That's
back
right.
in
I
the
remember
early
saying that.
the
That's right.
early
Yeah.
60s. My brother Mike was born there. It's a long story. I won't burden our audience with that, but I do have a Nova Scotian connection, so it's nice to see you and to hang out with you again.
Yeah,
Tell
it's
us,
great to see you. Yeah.
Taylor, I know you're an accomplished actor, but I know you're also a director, a screenwriter. You wear many hats. And this film, you star in this film, which is about a dad who's going through a divorce.
Ironically, here's my little
Oh
guy
my
right here.
gosh. Hello.
He just decided to join us.
Oh, that's very nice. Who is this?
This is Tumani. This is my son.
Imani, nice to meet you. That's wonderful. Well, in the film, you also have a child, but it's a girl named
That's right. Yeah.
and you're going through a breakup with your wife, and the film kind of goes back and forth between 2019 and 2020. And it's a film that shows your lead character's name is Gideon, the trials and tribulations of him having to deal with all of these life challenges. So tell us, how did you start writing the story and what was the motivation for making this film?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was just finishing my first year of university, I drove from Halifax in through New Brunswick, and across the country to coach swimming in my van, and I didn't have money for rent, so I decided to live out of my van that summer and coach swimming. And then the next year, I didn't go back to that job, but I stayed in Halifax and I volunteered downtown with the houseless community, with an organization that handed out supplies and things. And then years later, my young family at that time had fallen apart,
Mm.
and then years passed again, and I met this young guy outside of Neptune Theater in Halifax, which is sort of our regional theater here, and
Mm.
got to talking to him for around 5 weeks during rehearsals there. But then COVID hit, and I saw him about 5 months into COVID, and
Mm.
he was totally different. He was emaciated. He couldn't carry a conversation anymore in the same way. And it was really clear to me that COVID had really affected him.
Mm.
Things like access to just going into what we have here, Tim Hortons, getting fresh water,
Right.
using the washroom, access to lawn, everything shut down. Houseless people, they didn't have homes to stay inside of when we were told to quarantine, things like that. And it really affected him. So all of these experiences together sort of made me go, okay, well, what does that look like when someone's family falls apart and they don't have the supports that most people do have?
Mm.
And, that sort of this idea of like watching sort of the death by a thousand cuts of how someone could become houseless. And, that sort of idea that, in Canada, they say, 35% of Canadians are one paycheck away from being houseless.
Yeah.
Um, and I was sort of also interested in this idea of we saw it in early COVID, people more so than before were visibly houseless, but also people were living out of their vehicles and working a lot. So you could be going to work with someone that you didn't know was houseless, and they're getting a paycheck every day, but they can't afford a home anymore,
Mm.
with how the economy changed during COVID. And so all those experiences together kind of made me think of this story. And the reason that we sort of told it over this sort of timeline
Mm.
and changing timelines was because I sort of wanted the movie to end with you seeing this person as far apart from their old experience of being housed
Mm.
and now, entirely unhoused, as far apart as possible, which is kind of what created the timeline structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think, I mean, I'll tell you, here's some of the reviews or evaluations that you got from our wonderful programming committee. And the way that our festival works is each film is evaluated. We have a group of about 25 judges that consist of student interns, the festival interns, as well as academics like myself, media people, and previous winners. And so it's like a 4-month process, and films are scored. They're evaluated for quality of originality, um, you know, uh, performances, script, the stream, and production values and that kind of stuff. But then there's a section where they rank the films from 0 to 10, and then they have a space for comments. And so this one fellow gave you a 9. So if you get a 9, films
That's
that get
lovely.
sevens on average or higher usually get into our festival. And we got 680 films from around the world, and we're only showing 37 of them. So that's as competitive as Sundance. It's like 5% is what we show. So this person gave you a 9. He wrote great script, dialogue, acting, message, a very thought out emotional story. So that's one. You also got another 9 from another fellow, incredibly well written. Love the protagonist. So that was you. And so that's another comment. And then there's another person who wrote, love the performances in this film, particularly the lead actor. Also really enjoyed the relationship between him and his daughter. And the script made it feel very natural. And this person gave you an 8.5. So
Well, that's lovely. That's very kind of
you
people.
you scored really high, so we knew we were going to show your film really, really early on. And speaking of performances, I wanted to know a little bit more about the person who plays Kia, your wife, or
Hmm.
played by Christy Burke. I also would like to know more about your daughter in the film, Faith, played by River Price Mainpa.
That's right. Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then Navleen, who plays a fellow homeless person, played by Parveen Kaur. Can you tell us about this ensemble that you put together and how you met them? And tell us a little bit more about them because they're terrific as well.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with them because it was really such a joy to work with them. They're all really lovely people, but then also really wonderful actors. And so, yeah, I'll start with Christy. So we were holding auditions. Larissa Mayer, who's a Toronto casting director, we held auditions across the country
Mhm.
in Canada, and Christy, she probably wouldn't mind me sharing this story because it's kind of a great one for actors. Is her first audition. It was it was good when I went back, but she actually didn't make it to my callback list, ironically, somehow. I must have missed it somehow, but she reached out to me online and said, I just love the script. It really resonates with me for these reasons. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give her a call back. And I gave her a call back, and she blew me away in the callback. She was, head and shoulders the best candidate for the role. And I went, how was I almost not going to give her a callback? I totally missed it in her first read. But she's a great actor out of Vancouver, and she's been on, a lot of great shows. Like she was on a TV show called Billy the Kid, but about Billy the Kid, and
Sure.
um, and uh, she was in an A24 movie last year called Eternity with Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. So she's
Yeah.
she's an actor who's sort of been around. She was also in that show Made on Netflix. So she's
Hmm.
got a good resume.
Cool.
But she also has a real connection to the material, and she's one of those actors that's just really free and kind and lovely to work with. So we found her in Vancouver, and then River, who plays Faith, we had, same casting director had this call out, and her audition right away just stood out.
Hmm.
It was just right away you just knew that, oh, this kid's gonna be a superstar one day. She's one of those kids where you don't really catch her acting very much, like she's just very real and natural and really honest. And yet what's funny is, with most kid actors, I've worked with a number of kid actors before, you find that like they're really real and honest, and their performances are very natural.
Hmm.
And part of it's because they're not really acting, like you just catch them between action and cut, and they just happen to be themselves. The thing about River that's kind of fascinating is that she's able to be this very natural, real person on screen, but she's an actor's actor. she's looking for her mark and she's, in rehearsal, she's asking questions. And so we just really lucked out with her.
Hmm.
And I think, we're going to see a lot of her in the future. And then Parveen, who plays Navleen, she's a really good friend of one of my best friends. And she was one of the leads on a show called Manifest that was on Netflix for a number of years and got really popular for a little while. But it's funny, like I never saw Manifest, but I knew her from a short film that she had done
Hmm.
that my buddy had a small role in. And I just thought she was magnificent in this short film. And they used to be roommates. So I was able to get a contact for her through him. And in a way, it wasn't hard to convince her to do it, but it was so different than anything she'd done before that um, she was just really wanted to make sure that I thought she was right for it, which I thought was so funny. And she turned out to be great. But yeah, all very, and all three of them work very differently. So it was
Hmm.
really a great experience, but yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, I think watching you blossom also as an actor, as a writer, and a director from the three films that we've shown, this one I think brings a lot. I mean, you bring some autobiography into the film, and I think everybody does that anyway. I think
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes overtly, sometimes not so. But I thought that the way you were able to add the swimming coach part and then the homeless encampment, I mean, all of these things, I think. I mean, my questions are, was it easy to get access to these places? I mean, you got money from the Canadian government
Yes, yeah.
and the telefund, which is really wonderful. And I think what were some of the pitfalls and the things that were difficult in making this film?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, I got to give a shout out to, Telefilm and the fact that we have public funding in Canada. I'm so grateful, Canadian movies especially don't really, they don't really make much money. So this is an opportunity to be able to make movies in Canada, kind of about, Canadian issues. And so yeah, this film we decided to shoot in New Brunswick with that nice shared connection we have. And one of the things about New Brunswick is they don't have a very strong film industry, unfortunately. We don't have the same tax incentives as we do in Nova Scotia. They don't have them there. And so I was directing commercials out for a company called Hemmings House out there. And they had asked, after Bone Cage, what are you working on? And this felt like a good fit because they're very community oriented. They really care about the community. They'd worked with the houseless community before, actually, on a variety of different projects. And and so one of the biggest struggles in shooting New Brunswick was that they don't have a lot of trained crew because they don't have a very strong industry yet. I
Mhm.
mean, and this part of shooting it there is hoping that we can help build the industry there. And so it was a lot of training while we're shooting. But what's funny about that is that also meant there's a ton of enthusiasm. So people were willing to go above and beyond and go the extra mile. And in terms of access to locations in New Brunswick, it was kind of amazing. We shot in St. John there, and because they didn't have a lot of film, things like um, that mall and shutting down the mall
Yeah.
parking lot, like access to that was like it wasn't easy, but in comparison to shooting in Halifax, it was night and day. They were very happy to have us shooting at the Canada Game Center. The swimming
Mhm.
pool as well was like, we had to shut down the pool, and it, of course, cost a certain amount of money, but just having that access, them being willing to give us the space because they were excited to see a feature film shot in New Brunswick was really, really beneficial to us. So we had a really good access to locations. But definitely, um, even with this budget, which was the best budget I've had for a film, we were around 1.2 million Canadian.
Wow.
So I'm not sure what that would break down to in US dollars, but
Hmm.
it was definitely, that's a lot more than I've had in the past. My other two features were, as you know, micro budgets like around,
Yeah.
yeah, 200K or, even the last one, look at me, was around 100.
Right,
And
right.
so, but even then, because the scope of the story had grown with the budget, we're trying to shoot this in just over 20 days and we're moving very quickly, sometimes doing 7.5 pages in two location moves. And so
Wow.
those were some of the struggles that we had to fight against was just, trying to train people up as we were going, which, is a privilege to get to do, but then also trying to shoot a lot of movie really quickly. And so the way that we decided to shoot it was we almost decided that we were going to pretend that it was a documentary that we were capturing. We know it's narrative, but we're gonna not supplement with much lighting. We'll only do when we need to, some tubes here and there, things to motivate light when we're like, okay, we really need to see people's eyes. But otherwise, we shot an Alexa 35 with anamorphic lenses and just let the image be what it is. And so that was sort of our solution to that problem of not having a lot of time.
Well, I definitely think, I mean, it definitely has that documentary feel like you mentioned, and I think it's almost all location filming. So it benefits from having that look because it makes it more real. And the actors that you see and, you know, living in a car and
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I wondered, I mean, it must have been cold doing a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are used to it up in Canada, so it's
We're somewhat used to it, but it's funny, like, one of the things that I really, you know, appreciated and came to have even more empathy for than I did. I mean, I set out to make this story because I really care about people who are houseless, and
yeah,
it's an issue that we saw. The housing crisis has gotten worse and worse, and has gotten worse and worse in Halifax.
yeah.
But even shooting those scenes at night, we were trying to capture four seasons, as you might have noticed in the movie. And so we started shooting late April, still cold at night in Canada, up here. And we finished shooting late May. And so just by the skin of our teeth and a little bit of research, we were able to get, a look that looks like summer because it's about 24 degrees by the time we were finished shooting.
Whoa,
And it was minus,
that's so
th -3, -4 on those nights for sure, at
right.
least.
Centigrade, yeah, centigrade.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Say
Yeah, that's
24.
right.
Wait, that's really freezing. Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
yes, yes, yes. Centigrade. That's
it's
right.
not
Yeah.
so bad.
So all the things where it's like, oh, there's frost and there's breath in the air and things like that that you're seeing in those night scenes. It was cold and it made me really empathize with people who are living out of their cars even more.
Mm.
It's cold, but when you spend 10 hours without the vehicle turned on, you're just trying to shoot a scene. That you're in a pretty luxurious place in comparison to the people who are living in it, but you realize how cold it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I liked the way you dialed back and forth between 2019 and 2020, and the impact of COVID also was felt in your film at a dramatic time. You know, you're in the
Mm,
making our way through the story and kind of going back and forth in time, but we don't get to the COVID stuff until towards the end of the film.
yeah.
I think I wondered, you know, how difficult it was to kind of recreate that, you know, horrible feeling of having to mask up and everything that we see in the film. Was that something that just because we had to do it, it was easy to put on screen?
It's interesting. It's a great question because a lot of those sequences we near the end of the prep process, we moved some locations because we were like, we're gonna have way too much traffic, vehicles, we can't shut all this down. So we moved some of those scenes into different locations or shot them in ways that you wouldn't see as much in terms of traffic because that was probably the biggest obstacle there. Now we've got the one sequence on the scooter where, we kind of did our 28 days later shot, which was, that was our big dream, right? Like, okay. And that was, again, the city of St. John willing to let us shut down, I think four streets that were
Wow.
because we need this one street so that cars aren't coming through.
Right, right.
And all hands on deck, people whose job it isn't, they're not PAs are standing on street corners, making sure no one comes by so that we can get that one shot. So we had to shoot that piece pretty quickly to make sure that we got that moment of there's no one on the street. He can ride in the middle of a scooter down the middle of one of the main streets downtown and not see a soul. But the rest of it, yeah, it was kind of tricky because even though it's later in the film, there's still like a lot of movie that is set sort of outside, exterior locations that we'd have to figure out like what are we going to do with all this traffic and vehicles. So then we just had to get a little, a little
Creative.
choosy in terms of where the camera was sometimes.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah, I know that.
sometimes our plan had to go out the window a little bit.
Crazy. Well, your film is a wonderful film. It's a very emotional film, very heartfelt. I'm sure many people it will resonate with them because it's, you know, a lot of people go through this kind of stuff too in a variety
Yeah.
of different ways for sure, but it's really, really well acted, really well written. You feel for the characters and you do an excellent job. So I'd love to share screen now and show folks how they can get
Yeah.
tickets.
Well, I also wanted to say thank you
Yeah.
so much for the kind words, but also just programming. my films. It's like it's really meaningful, and to have had all three films come and play with you guys is it means a lot to me. So I really appreciate
I
it.
must say that the judges always change. So it's not that it's the same people that recognize your work. And so it's even more valuable because I think you're resonating with a lot of other folks,
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
for sure. And I didn't see your film until afterward. I was not part of that jury. So, I mean, but the thing is that I really trust our jury. They're really, really special. I have a wonderful group of student interns that they live and breathe cinema. So they can tell. I mean, we get so many films and they can tell right away if a film's going to be interesting or not. And given the comments that I read to you, that it resonated with them, and they're very picky. They're very.
Well, that's lovely. Huh.
All right, let's just do the share screen here. So, okay. This is our home page, and normally everything would be here, but we have now partnered with Eventive, which is our streaming provider. And because our film festival is a hybrid, we'll do a number of in-person shows. Just about all the films are being shown online for 24 hours on their show date. So when you get to our homepage, you see this placeholder here for the festival. You absolutely want to click on this tickets and info um, button. And once you click on that, it bounces you to our Eventive website page, which has everything there. These buttons at the top, the red ones, you want to click all of them. But before you do that, you want to scroll down and you can get more information for the live screenings. You can get driving directions and you can park in the university lots, which makes life a lot easier for folks. But click on schedule and it gives you a very vanilla kind of schedule offering. It's all text, old school. You work your way down through the schedule and you can see that we're showing Taylor's film on Sunday, May 31st for 24 hours online. It starts at 12 midnight Eastern Standard USA time and it ends at 11:59. But the great thing is that once you start watching, let's say you start watching at 10 o'clock on the evening of May 31st, you still have 24 hours to finish watching it. So it's a really great thing. And a lot of people do that, in fact. Then you click on the tickets button and you can buy tickets to the shows. And you click on this one. Here's a nice photo of Taylor and River in a scene in school, I guess. And you get more information about the actors and other stuff here. And then you can always go. I don't know why it's in French. Maybe it knew you were here, and we're now Québécois. We're Québécois over here.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, really funny. And so the film guide gives you individual um, posters, I guess, for each one of the films. So we click on yours, and we can see. Oh, wow! I didn't know we included this photo. That's a really great one. So you can buy tickets from this location too. You go back to the film guide, you can check out all the great films that we're showing. You can go to menu to scope out the rest of our site. If you want to see more than two-thirds of the films, you want to buy a festival pass because it'll save you money. Each program is $15 and you're supporting the arts. In this country, the arts are getting beat up by our current. I won't say anything bad, but I'm not a fan, and we're surviving because of the generosity of people around the world who come and check out our festival. So it's a really great way to support the arts in the United States. I'm going to stop sharing. And, the way that our festival has been going during COVID, we had one lady in Oklahoma who watched everything. So we didn't want to eliminate people that supported us during when we really needed them. So we kept this option to be online and in person. And at some point, I'd like to go back to just doing in person, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So
It's a great way to make films accessible. It
yes,
really
and
is.
if,
Yeah.
if you're ever
Yeah.
in the area, I know I'd love to meet you because we love all of your.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that would be
You have
fantastic.
a
Yeah.
standard invite to come to the USA, New Brunswick, and we'd be glad to see you that way too. So, folks, make sure you check out this wonderful, wonderful film. It'll be on May 31st for 24 hours. what we dreamed of then. Get your handkerchiefs out too. Sure. It's definitely got its emotional moments. And come and check out Taylor for yourself. He's a really wonderful guy, and we want to support his art. So
Well, thank you. I really
thank
appreciate
you,
you guys big
Taylor.
time.
It was
Appreciate
lovely
you big
meeting
time.
you and your son.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
really wonderful thing. And I look for, are you going to be in any other shows on TV?
Oh, I hope so. I nothing that's airing soon, but there's stuff in the hopper, so we'll
That's
see.
good. I'll
Yeah.
make sure.
We've got a little TV show that our company is making this summer for Out TV for the Queer Network there. That's across Canada and the States, and so we'll be doing that this summer. So
Wonderful.
fingers crossed.
I
Yeah.
remember when my wife and I were watching The Sinner with Bill Paxton. No,
Bill Pullman, that's
Pullman.
right.
Bill
Yeah,
Pullman.
yeah.
And I said, I know this guy. And then I said, Taylor Olson.
That's funny.
You play in, I guess the season where they're up near the water.
That's right. Yeah, that was all
I
shot
was
out
in
here in Nova Scotia.
Canada.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a small world, and it was nice to see on that screen too.
Yeah, Bill Pullman, my goodness, what a guy. He walked in, just a little tidbit. He walks in as a joke and he goes, yeah, one take, one take. And then he does it one take. He's perfect. They move on. I bet he does that every scene. He was amazing.
Yeah, yeah, he's really a terrific guy.
Yeah.
He had a stroke or something, right? And
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think he had some issue, and he's still able to do all the stuff that he used to do. So
That's
crazy.
incredible. Yeah.
Anyway, it was wonderful seeing you again, Taylor, and
You
we look
too.
forward to
Yeah.
showing your film.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys later.